Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Leadership and Learning. This is another one of those interviews that I am so personally proud and honored to interview the person who I have here, Yudong Hao. We had the opportunity to work together in a company here in Silicon Valley a few years back. And I don't often tell my clients that you can find a best friend in the places that you work, because usually when somebody leaves the company, either one or both leave the company, then the working relationship ends, and ours did. But through the trials that I've gone through personally, Yudong is a genuinely beautiful person inside and out. I've learned so much from him in the tech arena, in application scientists, and in the semiconductor world. He has also been a tremendous friend to me during some of the hardest times in my life. And he probably doesn't know, you probably don't know this, but you have been saving grace to myself and my family. And so folks, please know that you can find very, very good people in your lives in this technical world that you may be working in or that you transition to. So that's a great benefit and a bonus to have. And I'm so proud to have Yudong here with me. He's going to share with you experience going from very technically skilled, trained, and educated to becoming a people leader. So I'm so thankful to have Yudong here. Hi, Yudong, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Cham. I'm deeply touched and humbled by your introduction. You are a great friend of mine too. Thank you.
Oh, bless you, Yudong. It's all you. So the first question that I have for you, Yudong, is just tell us about how you started. How did your tech journey start?
Yeah, okay. Well, in 2005, fresh out of school, I got a job at a company, basically my previous employer, as an applications scientist. And I have been working there had been working there for 15 years until I moved to my current job about 2 years ago. So when I joined the company in 2005, I had little knowledge of the industry, as well as what I could do and how far I could reach. So luckily, I got into some R&D development in some core technology in the company. And after the product was rolled out, I started to train my fellow engineers on the new technology. So gradually, people start to recognize me as the expert in this domain in our department and later on in this company. So I would say, I grew as a technical person through technical excellency. Well, then in 2012, after training a new team that we created somewhere in Asia, so I got promoted to the manager of those people since I was basically mentoring them. And then 2 years later, a surprise promotion to a director after winning a key customer in Asia. So I kind of like grew this company through technical excellence and then start to be a people manager. So later on, I did different roles, including marketing and program management and R&D, sometimes with direct reports and sometimes do not. But that was quite a journey in that company.
Oh, I
And now,
bet. I've seen you go through that journey. Now, I have a question for you. Back when you first started training others, right?
yeah.
You had come from an academic and training background, being an individual contributor, and all of a sudden you're asked to go and train others. How did
Mhm.
you feel, first of all? And then how did you do it? Like, how did you know this is how I do what I do? Because that teaching ability doesn't honestly come naturally to everyone.
Yeah, that's right. So, teaching, actually, I consider teaching is the best way to, before you teach things you think you know, but once you start to explain to others, then you realize that, hey, I'm not really clear about that concept. And then I go back and think, and then I make sense out of it, then I can explain to them again. So by doing teaching, I actually learn a lot and grew a lot of it.
I'm glad you said that. That's a very humble stance to take, is to be able to admit to yourself when you're in front of a classroom that, hey, you know what, I don't know, but I'm going to go and find out. Because
Yeah.
sometimes folks who are in front of others, who are on stage, leaders who are on stage, they expect themselves to know everything. And it's
Yeah.
almost embarrassing to not be able to answer a question or whatnot. But you took a stance of being very humble, and then you went out to find the answer.
That's correct. Yeah. And through teaching, I also developed my communication skills, right? Especially how do I explain a complex technical problem in plain English, plain language, and to people who are may not be right in that field. So I kind of developed these skills through the process of teaching.
And would you say that that process was more like trial and error? Like, for instance, when you, being an application scientist, when you were trying to explain something to the sales and marketing team, and I've been with you in the room when you've done this, and you do it just magically and beautifully. How did you get to that point where you're trying to change the same content to the audience?
Well, in a way, it's my personal journey. That means when I try to understand a complex problem, I actually, for me to understand it, I try to do analogy, compare to that to something else I already know, and then make sense out of it. So for me to get down from this complex technical issue to something that's more mundane, for me to understand, then I'm ready to explain to others.
Great. So being able to break it down, therefore you're then able to take the same core concept and then explain it to the different varied audiences. I've always found such beauty and skill in that when I've seen you do it. Next question for you. Tell us some of your toughest challenges transitioning from being a very highly technical, skilled person to a people leader.
Yeah, first I would say technical excellency does not necessarily just translate to good people management. I learned that in the hard way. I'll tell you the story because the people management requires a very different skill set. And it was a blind spot I was not able to recognize until and fix until 5 years later. Um, so for example, when I got promoted to people manager just simply because I did well technically. And that time there was no training program for the new managers to do the transition. So I was continue to manage people as if I'm training them. So I use my mentoring and technical training and continue to use that to manage people. I mean, it works because all the people do require this technical, mentorship for them to grow, but they are human beings. They need, the emotional support, and which I don't think I did a lot during that time. And was also a remote management, and that didn't work either. So I would say eventually the limitations start to show up. People start to question, if they have the right, they have all the support from their management, especially when it's someone from far, far away. So I would say I learned it in the hard way.
Well, one, you took it as a learning experience, so that's the positive side, but it's also might be heartbreaking for some just to make that, to get to that realization. What a moment for you. So with that, then tell about you said at that time you didn't have a training program or a management courses or anything like that available to you. From that point, have you been in an organization that did have a program that worked for you?
Yes, like years later, I think the company start to grow and bigger, and the HR team is also get stronger. So, Trent, when you joined, I think that was a period when the HR was very strong, especially in the training program. And the training is, like for the manager training, for the team management training. I think that was really a fantastic time period, and we had a lot of interaction during that.
A really great memory. What worked for you specifically, if you can recall, in the management training that was like a big aha moment for you?
Yeah, I remember during this our interaction, I could see that you were really, gracefully, elegantly, and just managed conduct a team event. Really, with I was really amazed by how you did that. Um, so I remember those trainings, like the disc training, right? And I found myself to be a really strong C and S. And another thing is this, we had this kind of interaction, like, scenario. There was certain scenarios in the people management, and how do we practice, and how do we respond to it. I think that's very helpful. It's just I felt I was put on the spot, right? There's a employee coming to me with a problem, and I don't know how to respond to it. But that really put me on the spot and start to think, and also I could apply to the skills I learned through those training and also my personal reading, and then I started to apply those things, and I felt more and more comfortable with more of those training and interactions.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Yudong, for your kind compliments. I did not put him up to that. So thank you, Yudong, for that. And then what you've done, which quite honestly, I've seen few people do, is actually applying the skills. So therefore, there can be a plethora of management courses, online books, external, internal sources available to managers now, or people transitioning to a management position now. But not everyone can apply it, and not
Yeah.
everyone does apply it. But what you've done is you've actually applied it with the teams that you worked with, even the overseas teams that you worked with. So
Yeah.
I've seen that, and I've seen the results of it with your team members as well. And those times I'm just so proud of you. One of the great things about you, and one of the great things about great leaders, is continuous learning. So you have that quality. So how have you continued learning and developing through your career journey?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say that, people management is a learnable and learned skill. No one has that printed in your DNA. And some people seem to be more natural simply because they had more chance to learn early in their life, either through upbringing or from the other interaction during the education. So I would say it is never too early or too late to learn this skill. And this skill is useful in every aspect of your life, even if you do not manage people, just to improve your personal relationship, your family relationship, that will be helpful. So I highly encourage everyone to learn this very valuable skill set.
And what are some of your go-to resources for continuous learning on effective leadership?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of resources that is available. So there's tons of books, there's YouTube videos, there's Coursera, those online training program, and most of them you can access for even for free. You have so much resource you can use, and I would encourage people just to read books. Don't worry about do I have the right single secret script that after reading it I will be the expert in this domain.
There
No, it
is
doesn't
no
mean
such thing, right? There is no
that's
such
right.
thing.
Keep reading and don't worry about it if you feel that, oh, I don't even remember what I learned. Well, what you can absorb is already being internalized, being part of you. And as you read more and more, then it will become more and more natural for you. And it will become really a part of you. You're using it, you just don't realize it. So keep reading. Don't worry about you don't remember the name of the book. Just keep reading and keep learning.
Oh, that's fascinating. I oftentimes have this too, where I forget the name of the author, the name, especially the name of the chapter in which I found something profound about leadership. But then hearing you, knowing that it's internalized and whatever you naturally absorb is being applied, is very
Yeah.
hopeful for our technical leaders. Okay, any last things to advise that you would give tips for those emerging leaders who come from a very technical background?
So I would say first, awareness is the key. You cannot improve what you don't really realize. And second is, so as I said, keep learning and also keep applying to your work. Yeah, I remember I learned some negotiation skills. That's about confirming and echoing from a book called Never Split the Difference, and I applied that in one interaction with my employee. It worked like magic. Okay, that's so helpful. So learning and applying that skill set. And I also like to say that, stepping out of comfort zone and take on some new challenges that is related to the management, either project management training, those can also help us a lot. Try and remember what we did with that project management.
Yep.
Such a wonderful experience. So I would say that simply working with you, Tram, give me a lot of confidence. You have some contagious properties like enthusiasm, confidence, and it just by working with you, being close to you, I felt more confident, more vocal, and I felt I was able to do more things than I usually feel comfortable to do.
Oh,
So in
you make me totally miss working with you. And I did too. It's a complementary thing because I mean I can teach project management, but then without having something relative, like a relative current project that people are working on, it's hard to apply even the
yeah,
concepts of it. So
yeah.
I that yin and yang really work.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you helped me with the structure, the logistics of the meeting, the training, and then I create a like 70 slides from scratch, just based on what I learned through reading and also applying them in my work. And I believe we had a really successful training. And I remember that when I present the summary of the training to our team event, and I got attention of everyone. Everybody's silent because I got their attention.
What a beautiful feeling. I hope everyone gets that feeling. And that's what we should aim for, especially, and regardless of if you're technical or more of a people person, that feeling of others getting it, others absorbing and understanding and really appreciating your work, how valuable you must feel.
Yeah. And Tram, I would like to say I owe you a lot to my own personal development. Not only the training that you give to us during our common period over there, and also the encouragement and the contagion. You kind of rub your enthusiasm, confidence, and everything on me. And I was able to, at that time, I was able to step out of my comfort zone, took on like program management, and then took on some other high visibility project. And when a opportunity came up, and I applied. I got to that position. It was a big promotion, and especially at that time, Trent, it's like everybody told me, "There's no one else. You are the person." They think everybody say this is you. You are the right person for that job. So I felt I became ready because of the help from you. And so I really hope that more people like me can benefit from your training, Tram, to do a successful transition from a technical person, individual contributor, to a good people manager.
Oh, you're so kind, Yudong. You really do make me miss working with you. And it was a good time. It was a good time during that time. I was so proud of you in every step of the journey, just watching you grow. That itself was it was a beautiful scene to sit back and watch. And I was really, really proud of you. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. And of course, thank you for being the spectacular, beautiful friend that you have been to myself and my family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tram. It's always been a pleasure talking to you.